My friends, if you wish to receive wealth, you must first understand that money is not something chased, it is something tuned into. Like the waves of a radio signal, prosperity is already present, waiting for you to adjust your inner dial. The greatest mistake of man is believing that abundance is an external pursuit, when in truth, it is an internal alignment. You do not beg the sun to rise, you position yourself to receive its light. Likewise, wealth is not about toil or desperation, it is about frequency. The man who believes himself to be rich, though his pockets are empty, has already set in motion forces unseen. But the man who sees only lack, though surrounded by opportunities, shall forever be blind to his provision. Today I will show you that money, like all things of this world, responds not to need, but to identity. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And so I ask you, are you the frequency of money? Wealth is not a pursuit, it is a resonance. The man who scrambles after money, who wakes each morning with the anxious thought of how to make ends meet, who toils under the weight of worry, does not realize that he is moving further away from the very thing he desires. Money, like all things in creation, is drawn to those who are attuned to it. The one who fears lack, who sees every opportunity as a fleeting chance that must be seized before it vanishes, is telling the universe that he does not trust in abundance. And what does he receive? More lack, more struggle, more running after something that always seems just out of reach. The birds do not chase after their meals, nor do the flowers beg for the sun. They exist in a perfect rhythm with the provision of the Creator. They do not doubt that what they need will come. And so it does. But man in his misguided striving has forgotten this principle. He believes that money is outside of him, something he must wrestle from the hands of the world, rather than something that is drawn to him naturally when he is rightly positioned. Think of a radio. The air around you is already filled with frequencies, music, voices, broadcasts. They are all present, unseen, waiting to be tuned into. You do not create the frequency, you align with it, and the moment you do, the sound comes through. Wealth operates in the same manner. There is no shortage of money. There is no shortage of opportunity. The world is teeming with abundance, but it is waiting for those who are tuned into its frequency. Consider the man who is always speaking of his financial troubles, always lamenting how little he has, always seeing himself as a victim of the economy, of fate, of circumstance. He believes he is simply stating facts. But what he does not realize is that he is reinforcing his own frequency of lack. His words are a declaration to the unseen forces that govern this world, I am in scarcity. And the universe, which responds to identity, not mere wishes, says, so be it. But now consider the man who understands that money is a reflection of his inner state. He does not wait for his bank account to confirm his wealth before he feels wealthy. No, he is wealth. His thoughts, his words, his actions, all are aligned with abundance. He does not panic in times of uncertainty, for he knows that provision is a constant. He does not approach opportunities with desperation, for he knows that wealth is drawn to confidence, not neediness. And so, money flows to him effortlessly, not because he chased it, but because he became its natural recipient. This is why so many who struggle with money remain in that struggle, while those who seem to have mastered it continue to attract more. It is not merely about effort or intelligence, it is about alignment. The rich are not rich because they have money because they are rich in mind, in spirit, in certainty. And the poor are not poor because they lack money, They lack money because they are poor in belief, in identity, in frequency. So the question is not, how do I get more money? That question assumes lack. The real question is, how do I become the kind of person to whom money flows naturally? That is a question of alignment. And alignment begins with belief. It begins with seeing yourself as someone for whom abundance is normal. It begins with eliminating the thoughts, the words, and the actions that reinforce scarcity. It begins with shifting your frequency. Because money is not something you must find. It is something that, when you are rightly tuned, finds you. There is a language that money understands, just as there is a language that the spirit understands. To speak to angels, one does not use the tongue of doubt and fear. One speaks the language of faith, of certainty, of alignment with divine truth. Likewise, money responds not to desperation, not to struggle, not even to effort alone, but to a very specific frequency. A language of abundance, expectation, and receptivity. The great misunderstanding of man is that he believes money follows work, when in truth it follows belief. A man may toil from dawn to dusk, breaking his back in endless labor, yet remain poor. Another may move through life with apparent ease, making decisions that yield great returns, seeing doors open before him with little effort. The difference is not merely in skill or intelligence. The difference is in the language they speak within themselves. One is speaking the language of lack, of survival, of struggle, while the other is speaking the language of wealth, of ease, of opportunity. Look at the world around you. The wealthiest people are not always the hardest workers. In fact, many of them work far less than those who struggle. Yet they continue to accumulate riches. Why? Because they expect money, because they speak of it not as something rare or difficult, but as something natural, something abundant, something always flowing. They do not question whether they deserve it. They do not fear that it will disappear. They do not resent those who have it. They have made peace with wealth, and so wealth has made a home with them. Now, contrast this with the man who is always talking about how hard life is, how little he has, how unfair the world is. He believes he is merely stating facts, but what he does not realize is that he is declaring his reality into existence. He is telling money, "I do not belong to your world," and money obeys. It stays far from him, not because he is unworthy, but because he has spoken himself into separation from it. Every word we speak carries an energy. Every thought we think sends out a signal, and those signals are always attracting or repelling. A man who constantly worries about bills is not inviting money. He is reinforcing the experience of lack. A woman who constantly complains about never having enough is not making room for more. She is ensuring that never enough remains her reality. They do not realize that their very speech is a form of prayer, a request that the universe is always answering. But the one who understands the language of wealth does not waste words on complaints. He does not speak of lack, not because he is blind to reality, but because he knows that reality follows words, not the other way around. He speaks in a way that aligns with abundance. He speaks of opportunities, not obstacles. He speaks of growth, not limitation. He speaks as though he already has what he desires, and by doing so, he makes space for it to arrive. This is why Scripture tells us, "Let the weak say, I am strong," not let the weak acknowledge their weakness, not let the weak hope to be strong one day. No, let them say it, because in the saying they shift their frequency. In the declaring they open the door. So too must we speak of money. Not as something distant, but as something present. Not as something we need, but as something we already resonate with. For money, like all things, is energy, and energy responds to language. It listens to the way you think, the way you speak, the way you expect. So if you wish to attract it, do not beg for it, do not chase it. Speak as though it is already yours, and you will find that it moves toward you as naturally as a river finds its way to the sea. Faith and money are not as different as they seem. Both exist first in the unseen, before they take form in the physical world. Both are governed by belief, by certainty, by an unshaken trust in what is not yet visible, and both require the same kind of posture. A confidence that does not waver, a knowing that does not beg. Too many believe that money is a matter of logic, of numbers, of strategy alone. But if that were the case, then knowledge alone would make men rich. Yet how many educated men struggle financially? How many people with vast experience and skills remain in lack? It is because money, like faith, moves according to unseen principles. And one of the greatest principles is this: what you believe, you will receive. Faith is the currency of heaven. It is the evidence of things unseen, the title deed to things hoped for. A man does not wait for proof before he believes. He believes, and then proof appears. So it is with money. A man who waits to see wealth before he feels wealthy will never attain it. But the man who first believes himself to be rich, who carries himself as though abundance is his birthright, will find that wealth comes to him effortlessly. Look at the farmer. He does not wait for his crops to grow before he believes in the harvest. No, he sows his seeds in faith. He does not stare at the empty ground in doubt, wondering if the soil will yield anything. He does not dig up the seeds every morning to check if they are growing. He plants and then he expects. That expectation is what draws the harvest forth. The same law applies to money. You do not wait until your bank account is full before you feel wealthy. You plant the seeds of belief, and then you expect the harvest. The man who walks by faith in financial matters does not speak of lack, does not entertain the thought of failure. He does not panic when expenses arise, because he knows that provision is always present, even if unseen. His confidence is not in what he holds in his hands, but in the certainty of what is to come. And because he holds this belief, money moves toward him. Now consider the one who lacks faith. He sees an empty bank account and immediately falls into fear. He assumes scarcity, he assumes loss. His mind is filled with thoughts of what he does not have, what might go wrong, how difficult things are. In doing so, he operates in the opposite of faith. He operates in doubt, and doubt, like faith, is a magnet. Just as faith calls forth abundance, doubt calls forth more lack. Some will say, "But I must be realistic. I cannot ignore my financial situation." To them I say, reality is not fixed. Reality is shaped by belief. The man who insists on seeing before he believes will remain bound to what he sees, but the man who believes before he sees will change what is seen. Money flows where faith resides. Just as Jesus marveled at great faith and responded to it, so too does wealth respond to those who are unwavering in their expectation of abundance. It does not come to those who fear it. It does not come to those who doubt it. It comes to those who stand firm in the knowing that provision is already theirs, even before it arrives. You do not need to chase money. You need to hold the kind of faith that knows it is already on its way. You need to move as though wealth is already present in your life. You need to stop asking if it will come and start living as though it has already arrived. Because money, like all things, responds not to need, but to certainty. And the one who is most certain most unwavering in their faith, will always be the one who receives. There is a divine order to the way things come into being. Nothing in this world manifests without first existing in the unseen. A tree does not appear fully grown. It begins as a seed beneath the soil, hidden from sight. A river does not carve its way through the land overnight. It flows steadily, shaping its path long before it is noticed. And wealth, like all things, follows this pattern. It is first established in the mind, in the spirit, in the unseen realm, before it becomes tangible in the physical world. Yet most people do not operate by this principle. They believe money is something they must chase, something outside of them, something separate that they must grasp and control. They toil and struggle, thinking that through sheer effort alone they will finally reach a place of abundance. But they fail to see that effort without alignment is like planting seeds in barren soil. No matter how much they labor, no matter how hard they work, they will not see a harvest until they first cultivate the right environment within. Money is not something you pursue, it is something you allow. It is not something you demand, it is something you receive. Just as a vessel must be open to be filled, so too must a person be open to receive wealth. And openness is not merely about wanting money, it is about being in harmony with the energy of abundance, about becoming the kind of person to whom wealth naturally flows. Many people unknowingly block the very thing they desire. They say they want money, but their spirit is filled with fear, doubt, and resistance. They carry beliefs that tell them wealth is difficult to attain, that money is scarce, that only a select few are truly prosperous. They look at their current circumstances and allow them to dictate what is possible. And because they are operating from a state of limitation, they attract more of the same. They see the world through the lens of struggle, and so struggle is what they continue to experience. But those who understand the divine order of creation do not let their external circumstances define their internal state. They do not wait for money to appear before they feel wealthy. Instead, they cultivate the feeling of abundance within themselves first. They align their thoughts, their emotions, their expectations with the reality they wish to experience. They know that money is not the source of their wealth. They are the source. Their state of being is what determines what flows into their lives. Consider a man who always speaks of financial hardship, who constantly worries about his expenses, who sees wealth as something distant, something meant for others but not for himself. Even if he works tirelessly, even if he takes action every day, his energy remains one of lack. And because the universe does not respond to mere effort, it responds to vibration, he will continue to struggle, no matter how much he does. His actions are pulling in one direction, but his mindset is pulling in another, and so he remains stuck in place. Now consider another man, one who may not have much money yet, but who carries himself as though he is already abundant. He is generous even when he has little. He speaks of prosperity even when his bank account does not yet reflect it. He does not dwell on what is missing, he focuses on what is coming. And because his entire being is aligned with abundance, wealth finds its way to him effortlessly. He does not chase, he attracts. He does not beg, he allows. Money follows the law of alignment. It does not come to those who merely want it. It comes to those who are prepared to receive it. It comes to those who have made peace with it, who expect it, who see it as natural and inevitable. It comes to those who act, speak, and think in harmony with wealth, even before they see it materialize,